Welcome, bienvenidos, benvindos to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores Show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here, the only English language podcast devoted to South America's premier cup competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. This is the second of two special episodes that I'm making after the conclusion of Matchday 6 last week. If you have been following previous episodes, you will know about the flooding disaster in the Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul that required Grêmio to reschedule two Libertadores matches. The first of those matches was played on Tuesday, a match in which Grêmio defeated Chile's Huachipato 1-0 to secure a place in the last 16. The second of those matches was played on Saturday night, as the Tricolor played Argentina's Estudiantes de La Plata in their temporary home venue in Curitiba. Estudiantes had nothing to play for. They were locked into fourth place in the group, out of South American club competition for 2024 after a campaign that was initially promising and then fell apart with three consecutive losses, starting with a home loss to this Grêmio squad. As for Grêmio, the situation was relatively simple. A win for the home side would win them the group. A loss would lock them into second place behind Bolivia's the strongest. A draw complicates things. A goalless draw or a 1-1 draw would place Grêmio behind the strongest on goals scored. But in case of a higher score draw, such as 2-2 or higher, Grêmio would win the group on goals scored. The match would turn out to be a closely matched encounter. Estudiantes came to play, and they actually controlled the possession over the entirety of the match. Both sides would have roughly the same amount of half chances in the first half. Grêmio's best opportunity came at the half-hour mark, when Diego Costa's header off a corner went wide, and Federico Fernandez came close on a similar effort for the away side 10 minutes later. The match would go to the half goalless, a result that favored the strongest. Grêmio would get the breakthrough 3 minutes into the second half. Diego Costa, who was more useful for bringing his teammates into the play than scoring himself, combined with Franco Cristaldo, and Cristaldo would enter the box and fire a right-footed shot that struck the outstretched leg of Matias Mansilla and skipped backwards into the Estudiantes net. Costa was forced out of the match 7 minutes later, and from that point, the momentum started to swing toward Estudiantes. Manager Eduardo Dominguez made 4 changes in a 10-minute span. Jose Sosa, Nico Fernandez, Franco Sapiola, and Mauro Mendes entering the match, and all 3 made significant contributions. Estudiantes would continue to control possession, and they were generating chances as well. Ciad Romero headed off target following a corner, then Sapiola hit the post from close range. Finally, with 7 minutes to go, Mauro Mendes met a high looping corner with a precise header down and past Grêmio keeper Marchesín. Grêmio had no choice but to go forward in the closing minutes for the go-ahead goal. They did get 2 corner kick opportunities in stoppage time, and both kicks found the head of a tricolor player. On the first, defender Walter Kenneman's header went wide, and on the second, Rodrigo Ili's effort went over the crossbar. The match ended Grêmio 1, Estudiantes 1. A fair result and a credible performance by a Pincha side that didn't have much external motivation. Mendes was one of their key players for the goal, but Pablo Piatti had a great performance, and Fernando Suki stood out as a connector in their possession play network. Diego Costa was important for Grêmio, but he showed his importance through his absence. So what this result means is that the strongest, after finishing Group C play before anyone else, dodged 2 bullets this week and end up atop the group. Both strongest and Gremio finished the group with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses for a total of 10 points. Both finished with a +2 goal difference. But because of that 1-1 draw, Gremio finished with 7 goals scored compared to strongest 8. So the strongest win the group by a single goal. And both of Bolivia's representatives in the group stage finished top of their respective groups. And I know that no one predicted that. Huachipato, the 4th seed in the group, finished the group stage in 3rd place with 8 points. They will go to the knockout playoff of the Copa Sudamericana. And Estudiantes play spoiler tonight, but finished a disappointing Libertadores campaign on 5 points. And now we can confirm the knockout stage for the Copa Libertadores, along with the seeds of the teams. Now remember that the higher seeded team will host the second leg in every roundup to the semifinals. Now, in the top half of the bracket, in quadrant 1, we have the 15 seed San Lorenzo versus the 2nd seed Atletico Mineiro, and the 12 seed Gremio facing the 4 seed Fluminense, the defending champions. In quadrant 2, the 16 seed Chile's Colo-Colo will face the 7 seed Junior of Colombia. The other match will feature an all-Argentine affair, 9 seed Talleres de Córdoba facing the top seed River Plate. And the bottom half of the bracket, quadrant 3's matches are 13 seed Nacional of Uruguay versus the 5th seed Sao Paulo. The other match will be an all-Brazilian affair between 14 seed Botafogo and 3rd seed Palmeiras. Quadrant 4's matches are 11 seed Flamengo versus the 6th seed Club Bolivar. And finally, the 10 seed Peñarol versus the 8th seed, the strongest. The first leg of these round of 16 matches will be played between the 13th and 15th of August, with return legs played between the 20th and 22nd. 7 Brazilian teams, 3 from Argentina, 2 each from Uruguay and Bolivia, and 1 team each from Colombia and Chile. These teams will play off to see who will face each other in Buenos Aires at the end of November. Now, as a reminder, you can find XG maps, flowcharts, and passing networks for every Libertadores match at Soccermetrics on X. Match data supplied by Data Factory Latin America. If you want to follow me and send a comment or question, my X handle is @Soccermetrics. You can also send questions or comments to @SoccerDownHere or to Jason Longshore @Longshoe. We will answer your questions about the tournament in a future episode, and we do appreciate your comments. I'll have one more episode next week before taking a break for the Copa America, and that will be a review of the group stage. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores Show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here. See you later. Hasta luego. E até mais.